I guess it was all kind of written here. Shelja, who is currently at the helm of human resource efforts at Oberoi,
Yeah.
way back since 1994, 1995. So it was just phone call from her, and the next month I was at the Oberoi Center of Learning and Development. So I guess it was, and I've never really left Oberoi, and I can speak on behalf of everybody and anybody who's worked with Oberoi or is an alumni of OCLD.
Sandeep Pande, he is the part of Oberio Group at the helm of the kitchen of OCLD, which is Oberoi Center of Learning and Development. Today we welcome Sandeep and we want our guests to learn insightful ideas, different fusion, ingredients, know more about Indian cuisine. He's not only mastered the art of Indian culinary, but he has also championed a lot of other cuisines such as French, Thai, Indian, and his career spans up to almost 3 decades now. Let's hear from Sandeep, his journey, how he dwelled into mastering the art of culinary. Hi Sandeep, thank you so much for taking out your time and being here for us. And since I feel that today's episode is going to be very special, why? Because I want to give a perspective to all those people who are looking up to you, who want to learn to be there in the kitchen with all the perfection that they have. And we want to hear your stories, your experience, and how do you bring so much of difference in this culinary skill. What is it that has made you the master today in this field?
Firstly, thank you so much for having me here.
It's a pleasure.
Absolute honor to be here. Going to what you just mentioned in terms of what gets me here, what keeps me here.
Right.
Well, it's the love of food, the passion, and just a desire to do something unique with ingredients every now and then. I lead the L&D efforts as far as kitchens and cuisine and culinary is concerned for the Oberio Group of hotels, and that just keeps me on my toes with the various programs that we learn at OCLD and which we teach at OCLD, and the associates are just there with me throughout the day, and we keep on learning and developing and growing on ingredients.
Lovely. No, this is actually, it is interesting to know that today, wherever you are, it's a very passion-driven thing. And why people, they want to keep coming back to hotels. There are people like you, and specifically for Oberoi, I would say that you're the face. So I want you to give a perspective to all those who are listening today that if they want to learn to be the right kind of the person in the kitchen, so what does it take to be there? I'm sure there would be people who would be wanting to learn things from you.
Sure.
And since you're already so much out there to teach people through Oberoi, so can you just let them also know about it, that how does it become easy or difficult to be part of such a group here?
Great. So anybody and everybody who wants to be part of kitchens or cuisine or wants to learn how to be a chef, first and the foremost thing is you have to be absolutely dedicated to the cause. Is going to be your life for the rest of the very many years that you want to give to the cause. So that's extremely important.
Right.
And that's where it all starts from as well.
Right. And now these days I feel that India's narrative is also changing a lot. There was a time when people would just invest in either becoming a lawyer or becoming an engineer.
Doctor.
Or a doctor, yeah. Now the field has become so diverse. I see the innovation, I see the style, I see the statement. All of this has come so much. So it leads to a very huge industry. And now that you're part of it. So, just tell people that how difficult it is to be in the kitchen and to create something that guests come and enjoy and they come back for the same thing again.
Sure.
And you are the one who's leading that. And of course, interiors matter, but what I feel is the taste first.
Sure.
It's always the stomach that urges for the right food.
Sure. Firstly, it's not very difficult to be in a functional or a working or a professional kitchen as such. If you're driven by passion, if your technique is right, if you've done enough and more training as far as your skill-based training is concerned, and as far as you've done the amount of reading, you've gone through your nuances, you understand the cuisine, it just becomes a cakewalk. Yes, initially there are years formative years, as we all call them,
Right.
wherein you have to understand the cuisine, learn the craft, and that takes a little bit of time and dedication. But once you've mastered that, it's just about staying true to your roots, playing with ingredients, and taking care of the talent. And
And you
that's
have
about it.
mastered the art. We all can see that. Yeah. There's no doubt about it. So before joining the Oberois, how was your journey? Where all were you associated with? And then eventually, now that you are with Oberoi, how did you make that decision? And how was it? Like, was it easy to decide that for yourself, or the
Sure.
journey was, yeah.
So it's a little bit of a longer journey because I'm on the wrong side of 50. So father was in the army,
Yeah.
and
Lovely.
because of that, we went to the length and the breadth of the country, and
Wow.
that exposed me to various cultures, cuisines, ingredients,
So now
habits,
I know how
etc.
is it coming, and where is it coming from.
Exactly, and
Lovely.
that kind of streak or that trait has stayed with me in my professional journey as well. So I started off with instead of hotel management at Chennai. This was way back in 1991, and then in 1994 I am an alumni of the institute that I'm currently heading the culinary efforts at, which is the OCLD. That time it was called the Oberoi School of Hotel Management, and now it's called the Oberoi Center of Learning and Development. So I was there from 1994 to 1997, and then my professional career took me to Europe, worked with Michelin star restaurants. It took me to countries like Taipei, Thailand. It took me to Dubai. I worked in southwest of France, southwest of London as well. Worked with various chefs, and then I came back to India, worked with Oberoi's and a couple of international chains as well. And then I'm finally where it all started, which is the Oberoi Center of Learning and Development.
Wow.
Almost 25 years now. And had it not been her kind of focus on the rest of the things, I wouldn't have achieved half of what I have achieved
I'm
now.
sure. Very interesting journey. I would say like 30 years, and how beautifully you've summarized it in a paragraph.
Yes, I mean, it's
So
just
that it
that.
doesn't, it sounds like a passage, but I'm sure it must have been a huge journey
Yes,
for you.
it's been very, very interesting. Can't complain. My
Right.
wife had to kind of, do all the packaging and, packing of the boxes and everything else. But she's kind of, let me do whatever I've always wanted to. So
Right.
I'm always, always thankful to her.
So credit goes out to the partner as well, because she's always been
Absolutely.
supportive.
Yeah, I mean, we've been together for. Yeah.
Wonderful. That's great. So, you basically, your cooking style, you're known for blending Indian flavors with modern techniques. So, how do you create that fusion for people who come back for the flavors to you?
Sure. It's not exactly fusion as such.
Right.
Like you summarized or you mentioned that it is taking Indian ingredients or ingredients which are nice, local, growing around us, and kind of giving them a absolutely new avatar, if I can use that word, by using a Western technique, sometimes Asian techniques as well. So it just comes from my inherent understanding of the technique and the ingredient as well. So it's not that every ingredient you can turn into a foam or a souffle or plate it in a Western manner. There are certain ingredients which you can. There are certain ingredients which you can't.
Right.
Likewise, there are certain techniques which work well with certain dishes, and there are certain techniques which do not work. For example, I just finished a Rajasthani workshop, and we did an interesting take on the lal mas, wherein we actually
Yeah.
did the pulled version of the lal mas with the mathania chilies,
Wow.
and we combined that with a bao kind of a presentation. So rather than just sticking to a core lal mas as a curry,
Lal mas with bao.
yes,
That's why I said it's a fusion. I
yeah,
don't
it,
know.
it, it worked really, really well because baos were nice, soft. They soaked in all the flavor from
Right.
the gravy,
Especially the gravy. Yeah.
from the chilies, and then we had this pulled lal mas, which added to the texture as well, and the whole thing came in really, really well.
This actually, I have water in my mouth already when I listen to you, because I'm very fond of lal mas, and not that everybody can create that kind of thing which you're looking for, which your taste buds actually crave for. That's amazing. So, considering the balance of innovation that you have on your mind, and the traditional culinary practice, what is that brings your customers back to you time and again, and they crave for the real flavors that you create?
It's understanding of ingredients, as I mentioned. It's also uh, kind of giving them something which is really nice and unique. I just will give you an example,
Yeah.
and do not want to kind of ruffle any feathers because it's Navratri times.
Right.
But then again, my understanding of Navratri is that we are given a certain set of ingredients which we can have or not have. Nobody tells us not to have, for example, a particular cuisine. It's only the ingredients which are told to us in scripture that we can have. So, for example, I would love to have a buckwheat or a kutuka gnocchi paired with a nice Navratri based tomato sauce which has flavors of basil or tulsi and tomatoes.
But how do you figure this out that this is the right thing with this and both these things can go well?
Again, it's a classical combination: tomatoes, gnocchis, basil. You don't have to be a scientist to understand that these flavors kind of work well
I think
together.
this is a kind of science only that you put things together to create a flavor.
Sure.
And I won't say it's just a logic that you have to apply, but you have to
Experiment as well.
your expertise. They have to play a major role in bringing that thing together.
True. So I've done these Navratri menus and I call them Nuvaratri menus because there is a zing to it. We can have a lot of ingredients which can be combined in a certain manner and still stick to that Navratri ingredient logic, if I can use that word, and present new and innovative dishes rather than just doing a traditional Navratri thali with kutuki roti and sabudana vade as
That's
such.
interesting. Yeah, yeah.
So it's just this innovation,
Innovation.
this thinking, and at the same time appealing to the palate of a guest,
Right.
which keeps on kind of bringing them back to me and me to them as well.
Correct. Probably the reason that you're here is that your innovation works for you quite well. And how
Exactly.
you've just explained that.
And also, I don't cook for myself. There are a lot of chefs who open restaurants because they're good at particular thing, or they feel that listen, this cuisine will really, really do well. I cook for my guests. So, for example, if there's a guest who says that, listen, I want to have lal mas with a nice Malabari paratha because Malabari paratha is nice, flaky, has a certain amount of
Yeah.
fat content into
Yeah.
it, and a nice, crispy, khasta Malabari paratha just kind of teams up with lal mas like a house on fire.
Right, right. So now that you have spoken about people getting into this business of kitchen, do you think a person can be in the kitchen and run the business solely by himself? Is it a good combination to have your own kitchen and then come out in a diverse world where there's a lot of competition in running cafes, restaurants? Is it viable to be both at the same time?
Sure. If you ask me personally, Virat Kohli as a batsman and Virat Kohli as a captain, they're two different roles to play.
Yeah.
I mean, Virat Kohli as a batsman will always excel because that's his core competency. He's been trained to be a batsman. He knows his shots, he knows what to do, etc. Likewise with Dhoni as a wicket keeper or somebody who wants to finish a game is a much better role model than a captain as such. So personally, I would rather be Virat Kohli the batsman.
Yeah.
And not Virat Kohli the captain because we have
Wonderfully
expertise.
put, yeah,
We have expertise. Why don't we kind of just stick to our respective roles? Again, that's me speaking.
Yeah, that's true. So, India's cuisine, I feel, has evolved over a period of time. And since it's diverse, what is that one favorite region or one favorite part that you would always want to go back and prepare for the guests or prepare it for the hotel?
I don't know. I'm fairly
Can
biased.
you like choose? Is it difficult to choose?
Yeah, like I said, I'm fairly biased. I've lived most of my life in North India, so cuisine from Rajasthan, cuisine from north of India, cuisine from Punjab, and Punjab is just not just a state. Okay, it has a lot of principalities. It has a lot of royal gharanas, if I can use that word,
that's true.
as well. On Monday, we are starting with flavors of Five Rivers workshop and immersion at OCLD.
That's an
And
interesting
we are
title.
looking at these small principalities and these small kingdoms and trying to introduce food from these small places onto our associates as well. So I will always be biased towards food from North India. But having said that, I'm equally at ease at having a dosa on my day off and having my morning cup of filter coffee with probably 20% of chicory and 80% of really, really grade
Okay.
A coffee.
Yeah, lovely. And just tell me one more thing. How do you decide that this particular menu should be titled with so and so names that you usually decide on the menu card?
So there are a lot of ways when people can name menus.
They're very innovative now. When you look at the
Exactly.
menu, it doesn't look like a menu. When
So
we used to go to a restaurant, like any restaurant, it would be a plain menu with a few names that everybody knew about.
sure.
Now, when you step into the restaurant, it doesn't. You feel that you've come to a place where you first have to go through something and then order because you're not aware of the ingredients. You don't know what's getting served.
Yes.
So, how this innovation has come in play?
Yeah, we at Oberoi are at the helm of innovation and trendsetters as far as
Indeed.
menu is concerned. So, if you look at the Oberoi New Delhi 360 menu, it's almost like a storybook. It reads like a fiction book wherein there are stories about ingredients, there are stories about chefs, there are stories where those dishes came from.
Fascinating.
We also have Chef Anirban, who's at the Oberoi Bangalore, and he recently did a menu called the Whole Hog, wherein all the dishes were from a particular livestock, and that's how he built his menu. So menus, there are a lot of ways to kind of name your menus. Like for example, when I wanted to do the Amritsari immersion, I did not want to call it Amritsari or Patiala Shahi or food from Punjab. I wanted to call it the flavors from the land of five rivers,
Right.
because that's what Punjab is.
Right.
And that kind of encompasses everything and anything that Punjab as a state, as an ethos, is there to give it to us in terms of
Right.
flavors and ingredients.
Correct. So it's just not only being about there in the kitchen and experimenting with the ingredients, but at the same time, I see that you have to be aware of the history of the place where you serve and what you prepare, because it's like a menu development. That's what I feel. It's like a structure which is getting prepared in the kitchen.
Sure.
According to me.
We do a lot of reading as to where the ingredients come from, where did that dish originate, what was the philosophy behind that particular dish, and that takes us on a journey which exposes to a lot of things which we can then incorporate either into the dishes or kind of mention it on the menus as well.
Yeah, dishes like you feature. So I feel it's more like a featured part of the kitchen, which is coming on the table with a platter.
Sure.
And that's how it is. Wonderful. So now your food trends, innovation that we've spoken about, I want to know that what is the most exciting ingredient in the kitchen that creates an influence on cooking? Is there something particular that you would want to state?
There's nothing particular as such, but again, I always try and work with what is being grown right next to me. For example, at OCLD, we have what we call a flavor garden. And we don't call it a cliched kitchen garden because we actually grow flavors out there.
Nice thing.
I mean, we don't grow kitchens, so we
of course.
Yeah.
It's always the flavor.
Exactly. So we call it the flavor garden. And currently we have this nice patch of lush green lemon balm.
Wow.
And that's a small shrub, herb, you might call it. And we use that to flavor most of our dishes. For example, yes, lemon or lime is supposed to be used with, say, for example, a grilled fish or a whole fish as a preparation. But I would rather use a lemon basil, which we incidentally also have growing in our flavor garden, or lemon balm, or maybe make a nice salad with those leaves to be paired with my grilled fish. That will give it that acidity. It will give it that nice flavor. And obviously, you can't beat the freshness of something which is growing right next door.
Did you choose Oberoi, or over a period of passage of time, Oberoi chose you? And what was it like that, it's a fascinating combination that you both are there for each other?
I guess it was all kind of written here. So I've known Shelja, who is currently at the helm of human resource efforts at Obroi's, way back since 1994, 1995. So it was just one phone call from her, and the next month I was at the Oberoi Center of Learning and Development. So I guess it was, and I've never really left Oberoi's, and I can speak on behalf of everybody and anybody who's worked with Oberoi's or is an alumni of OCLD. you never really leave Oberoi. It's
Correct.
always is there. The ethos, what Mr. PRS Oberoi stood for, the quality, the luxury mindset, and the sheer passion for what you do, the small detailing of things, the fact that devil is in the details, all these virtues
Right.
that you are kind of taught always remain with you. So I guess I never parted ways that way.
That's interesting. So, what drives you? Who's your mentor in this industry? Who do you feel is your role model, or you think that you've come a long way and you've experimented with things? It's been your own journey. So, do you consider your own muse, or there are people out there who are, could be a role model
So
for you in the culinary?
there's a lot of role models, and when people talk about role models, they usually pick somebody who's kind of elder or more accomplished, that kind of a
In
way.
your case, I think it's the youth.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, for example, there are a couple of them. I would name Chef Angelo Roche, who used to teach us pastry at OCLD, and Chef Rajiv Singh Gulshan, who still is at the helm of learning and development, and
Yeah.
he used to teach us as well. At the same time, I have a colleague of mine, Siddharth Ahuja. So he is in charge of Gymkhana, which is a two-star Michelin. So we used to work together at Maya in at a Trident Bandra Kurla, and he's a role model too because at such a young age, earning two Michelin star is no mean achievement, and he's a fabulous chef and a cook. And you don't have very many examples in the industry who are kind of both and still runs a business which is worthy of a two-star Michelin
Right,
restaurant.
it's a sheer responsibility. I feel
Absolutely.
I won't say it's a burden on the shoulder, but of course, when you are engraved in such an important thing and you're given that important position, so of course it feels a huge responsibility. Just
Absolutely.
as marriage feels a huge responsibility, and so is your work when you're into it.
I
Yeah.
mean, for me, a role model would be somebody like you who kind of, marries work, profession, kids, and everybody else. I mean, I've said this to you before. I would love to learn time management from you. I mean, this is something that I really, I need to kind of get my hands around
I think you're perfect with that.
still.
So thank you so much for your word of
Sure.
appreciation. And since this personal growth, mentorship that we've spoken about, and how diverse this industry is getting every day, there is something new which is coming up. Any one advice that you want to give to the budding chefs or to the entrepreneurs who are seeking a direction, who are wanting to step out in this arena and open up chain of restaurants? Like any particular advice you feel
Sure.
that works for them?
A lot of us know for a fact that time doesn't come back, or time is fairly limited as a commodity. Or so I would just like to tell anybody and everybody who's starting anew, please give it a little bit more time than is required, because time helps you learn the craft. Time helps you soothe your nerves.
Sure.
Time helps you kind of evolve your skill set. So
Right.
it's all about time. A lot of us in today's time and age are rushed. We've got to learn Mediterranean today. We've got to learn Italian tomorrow. I want to be an expert at Indian day after.
Okay.
Listen, you know what? Sema has got a one Michelin star. When am I getting my first
Okay.
Michelin star? That chef has migrated abroad.
So there's
When am
hush
I
hush
gonna
also.
exactly? So there's a
Wow.
lot of rush. Everybody has got their own purpose. They just need to identify that purpose and
Right.
stick to it, and just give themselves a little bit more time than is required,
Right.
and everything will fall into place.
Yeah. So, do you agree this with me that when I say I was in law because there was a purpose? I started with law and I became a passionate social media influencer. Why? Because again, there was a purpose and I was very passionate about it. Can making money and passion work parallelly, or you just have to be passion driven first to be there to have that kind of money in your business?
No, for me, we should kind of think from heart and work with our pockets.
Yeah,
Absolutely. I mean, there is no kind of
that's a
going
good
back on that.
perspective. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, money makes the world go round, and this is something that we've heard ever since, and it's very true. Passion can be a source to create revenue streams, to
That's true.
create incomes. A lot of people, when they talk about sustainability, they just talk about sustainability in terms of ingredients. They talk about sustainability in terms of environmental practices. But the first and the foremost thing, and this is where what I learned from Chef Deepak Khosla, who runs a Green Star restaurant in Haoma in Bangkok, you first need to make your business sustainable from a sustainability point of view so that there is a regular source of income stream. If your income is not sustainable, there are so many livelihoods, there are so many lives, there are so many families which are dependent upon a successful restaurant.
Right.
So you've got to kind of fuel your passion into turning the restaurant to be a sustainable source of income for everybody who's a stakeholder.
Right, right. So I think people who are watching this must understand, don't be in a hush hush. And second thing is, it's not about revenue generation. You have to give out your heart. You have to give out your complete dedication. And then you are where you are right now, right? You can't
Absolutely.
just be, yeah.
And you know,
There's no blanket formula, but you have to follow the passion as well.
sure. And you needn't be where I am because your calling is somewhere else. My calling was this.
Right.
I wanted to be here, and here I am.
Right.
Touchwood, doing relatively well. And somebody
course.
else calling might be leading a Michelin star brigade. Kudos to you. Please work towards that goal in life.
Right. There is a certain rise that I see in people when they have become, for some reason, very health conscious. I keep hearing, no, we can't eat this, we can't eat that, that's not part of my menu, that's not part of my routine. So now, when this is changing, how do you incorporate all those maybe healthy dishes to a platter or to a menu? And how do you think it is healthy and at the same time delicious for people?
Sure. I just feel it's a very, very fine balance in ensuring that the taste, health, preferences, and your own personal nuances or the cuisine upbringing that you might have are all kind of come together so that they all make sense on the menu. So there are a lot of guests who come to us with genuine preferences, kind of have that kind of diet or cuisine because that's what is them.
Right.
And we need to just respect that and cook as per their preferences. But at the same time, we try and ensure that we choose those set of ingredients which make sense as far as palate is concerned. But at the same time, they satisfy their cravings and are compliant as far as their diet or as far as their allergen preferences is concerned as well.
Right. And as far as Oberoi is concerned, I'm sure they keep up with the standards and policies that they have. So this goes without saying that you are and others working with you would definitely take care of that part too.
Of course. I mean, we obviously follow FSSAI guidelines. We have our own portals where we follow respective guidelines. Almost all our chefs are HACCP trained. Almost all our chefs are FOSTAC trained. And we ensure that any preferences or any guest allergen needs are met and exceeded.
Wonderful, yeah. So now next question, which is not going to be out of box, but I'm really, what intriguing is when you're there in a restaurant, of course, you're sitting with your people there, maybe your friends, maybe your family. But, back of my mind, there's a question that goes on, what's happening in the kitchen? That interesting part, which is just popping out of the kitchen and coming as a platter served to you. Just give us a quick, maybe a scenario of how it is being there in the kitchen, working with so many people around you. And how do you, manage talking, manage flavors, manage telling what's next? How do you keep a tab of what has to go where? That scene, I think we're not aware of. Anybody here would want to know that.
Sure. There's a saying, we bleed a lot during training. And then when there's a war, there's a very, very minimal amount of sweat involved, and that's about it. So we train really, really well. We also have this simple scenario which we call taste panels. So for every service period, the entire service team and the entire kitchen team comes together. We taste a few dishes. We understand the nuances. We understand what is that dish, what are the allergens involved, what time does it take. Is there a story about that dish which we can kind of then tell the guests about? And we do it every meal period wise. And then apart from that, we have mandated training hours per associate as far as the cuisine is concerned. And this is over and above the classroom training which happens on a regular basis, which is taking care of the HR in various hotels. So we bleed a lot during the non-service hours. So that during the service, it's almost like conducting music with an orchestra. Everybody knows their work. Everybody is in a fixed place. They know their jobs. So as and when an order comes in, say for example, if there's an order for a particular dish, the kitchen stewarding person knows the plates are going to be nice, washed, hygienically cleaned, which is going to come on the pass. The associates know what to plate, how to plate. The chef understands the order, in what time it goes in. The service team would have actually kind of explained the dish really, really well to the guests,
Right.
and then they just serve it to the guest in due course so that the dish does not lose its temperature and it's served in the manner that is befitting the
Wow.
dish.
Yeah, because this is, I hear this as a very rigorous work. It is not something which you just decide in the morning and it's done by afternoon.
No,
And it
no.
takes a lot of training, it takes a lot of practice to be there, right?
Sure,
It's not
sure.
just a one day job.
Absolutely. And this is where OCLD comes into play as well, because we are at the forefront of all the learning and development efforts as far as the organization is concerned. And so we have portals, we have SOPs, we have a lot of background work which goes on
Yeah.
before that particular dish is brought to life.
Yeah, now that when you say we, so I want to know that at OCLD, when you say we, you and your team, how long does it take to maybe prepare for a strength like 300 people? And how does you being in that training program? So, what is that effort which it takes to bring all the people together to have that particular, things ready for that particular function or a program?
So, as far as OCLD is concerned, we are a very, very small, concise, battle ready team, if you can use that word. But then again, we spend hours to hammer out SOPs.
Right.
And then we spend a lot of time working with, so for example, I spend a lot of time working with chefs in various hotels and their teams, training them. We spend a lot of time fine tuning the stand operating procedures. We spend a lot of time understanding what learning and development can play as a role in terms of training for that particular dish. So we as a team then advise
Right.
various hotels who then bring in all those efforts together, and that goes on in producing those dishes.
Right. So you are also at the forefront wherein you're advising other hotels
Yes.
how to go about things.
Absolutely.
That's quite a job. Like,
Sure. And we run the management training programs as well, and we run a very, very interesting program called STEP as well. And then we also have certifications and trainings for anybody and everybody who wants to be a supervisor or a manager in their current job role as well.
Right. I know we were talking about this, that how your programs go out, and you wonderfully put it
Yes.
through the examples of how we're discussing
Yes.
things. So how do you keep yourself updated with the changing pattern and the consumer preference? How do you manage that?
I personally read a lot. I watch a lot of podcasts. I read a lot of magazines. I subscribe to a lot of portals which send me regular updates as well. And we at OCLD also have external faculty who visit us, and they kind of teach us as well. We also go out and train in hotels. We have a very, very exciting tie-up with Mandarin Oriental Group of Hotels, wherein we exchange information. Plus, I have industry colleagues. I kind of love to go out to industrial seminars and understand what is happening where, why, and how.
So it's not just only one particular place that you have to station yourself, but you have to just go around to learn new things and be innovative and creative.
So it's like a garden, you pick
Yeah.
up all your herbs, get them home, and try and use them in various
You
dishes.
still have to go there.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And now I see there's all of a sudden, I won't say a trend, but however people like to write about their ingredients, talk about the books that they do. Can you just tell us if there's any interesting project like that in your mind, or would you ever want to write a book and come up with something interesting that maybe in every kitchen people would want to open that up for their dishes that they prepare, and could be an easy thing to cater to their audiences or to their guests or to their own loved ones?
Sure. I mean, I
Can we
was,
look forward to that? Yeah.
of course. I was last weekend. I was with Chef Salah Hussain, who's at the forefront of the spice revolution, as he calls it in India. And we went to Khari Bauli and we saw at least 20 different types of chilies. And I was surprised that even the seeds of chilies were being sold at 80 rupees a kilo for them to be incorporated into various masalas, etc. And his book is titled Masala Mandi. I want to kind of take that thought and that process a little bit beyond and talk about the various ways and processes by way of which that particular ingredient comes to us, because it's very important for me to understand what makes an ingredient and what goes on behind the scenes in ensuring that that ingredient, once it's cultivated, how is it harvested, how is it
Yeah.
processed, and how is it brought to us, and is there
Yes.
any which ways when we can contribute to the betterment of that ingredient. So
Right.
for me, it's all about ingredients.
That's true. Every now and then when you pick up a newspaper, when you read about the restaurants, when you read about the food, there are such different fascinating titles, Silk Route, and different names which are given as if you're reading a history book,
True.
and you're coming back to the passage where probably that time we would not take interest, but now I want to specifically read about it. That what's next, what's the menu, what's the title, what is going to happen next. So it has become an industry where people are intriguingly taking, participating in things. And do you
Yes.
also feel that people are keen on knowing more and more about food and this industry?
Yes, I mean,
It's a changing scenario.
yes, there are menus abroad wherein, say, for example, if there's a fish dish, so next to that fish dish there would be a QR code, and if you were to
Yes.
scan that QR code, it will take you to the person almost who line caught that fish, what that fisher person does as far as his livelihood is concerned, where does he farm that fish, or where does he
Wow.
catch that fish from, etc. So we are still to get on to that particular stage, but this is where I want to be. When I spoke to you, that I want to be writing about ingredients and how they reach us and why do they reach us in a manner that they do.
Correct. Yeah. And now that we all are on social media platform, it's a very vast platform, I would say. Everybody's there. Anything that you type, you want to know about, and it's right there, good, bad, whatsoever. How do you leverage that social media platform with your culinary skill, or with your kitchen, or with your manner of taking a direction towards, preparing things? Do you think it helps you out, social
Sure, of
media?
course.
Be it Instagram, be it Facebook, or
Yes, OCLB is kind of present on both these big platforms,
I see that.
and I have my own Insta handle as well.
Yes.
But then again, it's very, very important for us to understand that social media is there to market and to bring alive what you're
Yeah.
actually doing in the kitchen. For that, there has to be substance in the kitchen first,
Right.
and then it, when marketed really, really well, can kind of reach the masses and make them understand your point of view of what is happening, why is it happening. So of course social media is fairly important, but then it should not be the only source of inspiration or getting to you there. We do a lot of in-person trainings as well to reach out to our guests.
Okay. And what would that mean like?
So
Just a brief example.
sure. For example, in hotels, we would do a lot of these chef-oriented dinners. We would
Yeah.
do a lot of these chef-oriented workshops where we invite guests to actually interact with chefs on a one-to-one basis, taste the food that the chef is making, and at the same time learn the chef's menu or food philosophy. So that happens all the time as
So
well.
it happens around the year, like
Yes, it happens around the year.
okay. It's a very
Uh,
passive thing that keeps on going.
Absolutely. So we get a lot of, for example, recently we got the couple from Bolan in Thailand, Bangkok at the Oberoi, Bangalore, and they came down. Not only did they cook fabulous dinners and meals for our guests, but there were active interactions with those chefs and Oberoi chefs, which helped everybody. It helped the guests to kind of understand the cuisine better, and it gave our associates a platform to kind of learn something really, really fascinating and new.
Right, right, right. So your innovation of experimenting with things and bringing things together. Can you also give a perspective that how do you handle this creativity and risk-taking part of it?
Sure. See,
It moves parallelly, I know, because on one side there is a risk. What happens if the flavors go
doesn't
wrong?
yeah.
And then your culinary adventure, which of course has to be part of your passion. So both moving together, how do you handle that?
Sure. I just feel that the risk-taking appetite and creativity, as you mentioned, they kind of go hand in hand,
Yeah.
because that's why I'll come back to the example of the lalmas with the bao.
Right.
That was a huge risk, so as to speak, that we took. It was very, very creative, but at the end of the day, it really, really made sense.
Okay.
And for me, say for example, say a dal bati churma, just that particular dish combination just fascinates me.
Mm-hmm.
So you have this earthiness of dal, you have this really, really nice tough bati which is soaked in
Yeah.
tons of ghee, and then you
Yeah.
have this sweet sprinkling of churma.
Right.
Now, I would love to have, say for example, a softer bati which is stuffed
Yeah.
with little bit of a dried up dal kind of a mixture, almost like a kachori,
Correct.
and then sprinkled with a little bit of churma. And when we've done that in our workshops as well. And I was telling you before this that from Tuesday onwards, we will be doing a Amritsari immersion, and that will be doing. We will be doing a lot of new innovations as far as dishes is concerned. So we are going to be doing, say for example, a very, very nice healthy version of fish Amritsari, rather than just dunking it into oil or shallow frying it.
Yeah.
We are doing a baked version of the Amritsari fish, and we will be pairing that up with a nice lemon balm salad, which I just spoke to you about. So that's freshness with those traditional flavors is again a risk, but I'm sure it will work.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah. Of late, I've been revolving too much around Rajasthani food. So when you said dal bati churma and you said, there can be a softer, mellow version of it, I think that's the need of the hour. By the time you just want to finish, you're done. You can't even finish that whole thing. So I think when it's more softer and easier to chew, makes it even better.
Sure.
Yeah.
Then again, just the size of the bati as well. I mean, you don't want to see just big dumplings of bati
Yeah.
swimming in ghee on your plate.
That's true.
If I were to be given small dumplings of a little softer bati, which we have experienced and
Right.
done creative kind of play around with,
Right.
it just makes so much of more sense.
Right, right. And how do you take care of this constant thing of quality and quantity both together? It's a management in itself. So how does that come, that excellence? How do you reach there?
A lot of people feel that when you cook for masses,
Yeah.
when you cook for larger numbers, you can get away by sacrificing on quality. We in Oberois, for us, quality comes paramount. I mean, it's the first thing,
Of course.
and
That's
then
why it's a voice.
purely because of the fact that, listen, if the quality is not right, and if you're cooking for few people, you might still be kind of okay with it. But then if the quality is not right, and if you're feeding it to so many people, imagine the repercussions if the quality is not right.
Yeah, actually I've always imagined, that how do they know that this is the number of the people? Who knows who's eating how much?
Exactly.
Maybe there is wastage also, and then how do you again cater to the same taste and flavors in case if there are more
Sure.
number of people?
Most of the buffets that we do are what we call the live station or theaters of buffets, wherein the dishes are made to order for the guest, for that particular preferences in front of the guest, and that helps us take care of the fact that we just produce whatever is really, really required.
Okay.
And we would rather produce small batches of food with greater quality than just bulk produce it and just throw it away at the end of the function.
Right, right. Yeah, that's what I want to know. That how do you take care of that waste, or how do you reduce that waste, which is actually, of course, when you're creating something, there must be some waste also. How do you take care of that management?
Sure. So the first thing is to produce very, very small portions of food and constantly keep on producing it.
Okay.
So what happens in most of the hotels is, say for example, if it is dal makhni, there's a huge cauldron or a handi of dal makhni which is produced at, say for example, 5:36 in the evening,
Yeah.
and that's left out for the guests to have, say for example, from 7:30 till 9:30 or 10 o'clock onwards. We would produce small batches of the finished produce at around 6:30, invite the guest over, have a taste panel with the guest to just kind of satisfy his taste buds.
Right.
And make him understand that, listen, this has got kasuri methi, this has got enough butter,
Right.
this has got enough chilies.
Right.
And then throughout the function, we will have a set base which we will keep on producing and putting in chauffing dishes or in theaters for the guest convenience. So we produce in small batches, and that helps us control the
So
wastage.
there's less wastage.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. I would also want to know that, since there are so many newcomers, there's any one advice that you would want to give them if they want to stay ahead of the curve, the restaurateur maybe, or the person in the kitchen, or maybe who is a budding chef and he's already in a hush hush. So, what is that one advice you would say that, okay, this can keep you,
Yeah,
stay ahead of the
sure.
masters?
Whenever I do my briefings in the morning, and we call them stand-ups, and we do a briefing every day before we start work at 9 o'clock. So all of us report at 8:40, and I play a nice song for them on my speaker, and we all kind of gather up in those 5 minutes, and then from 8:45 till 9 o'clock, we all have this briefing, and I almost always tell them about these two words:
Yeah.
focus and consistency.
Consistency.
Focus could be anything. If you're reading something about a cuisine, you've got to be focused. You cannot just read or skim through a book without taking notes, without understanding the practicality, without understanding the analysis behind that particular reading, without understanding, listen, I've read this, now how can I implement that? So you've
Right.
got to read, if you got to read with focus. So
Right.
focus is one word which we have to kind of develop as a hobby, as a learning habit. Second is consistency. Today you might have time, you might spend 30 minutes learning about food.
Right.
Tomorrow you don't have time, but please make sure that you take out still around 10 minutes to understand and read about food. So you've got to do that every day of your life.
Right.
It's not that today you've picked up a book, you've read it, and then you've gone on a holiday from reading for the next 4 days. So focus and consistency is something that we all should inculcate if we want to be great chefs. I guess that can be said about any profession.
Yeah, I think that's the energy that you have to constantly foster amongst your people if you really want to get at the helm of the kitchen. That's what I feel.
Yes,
Perfect. So there's a continuous learning and improvement also at the same time.
absolutely. I mean, otherwise, you're just kind of playing a catch-up game.
Right.
You're really not there at the helm, and that's when things kind of start to fall behind,
Yeah.
and you're not able to intrigue the guests. No innovation is happening.
Right, right.
The skill-based skill set that you have takes a backseat as well.
Right, right. In coming, say, like 5 to 10 years, how do you foresee that the industry is going to shape, according to you? The way it is changing rapidly, and there is innovation every day. There's something new. People have their own styles of working in the kitchen and own style of present. I see a lot of people have started already. They've started focusing on the presentation, which is so alluring. Food earlier would just be as if, yeah, right there, it's for you, eat it. But now I see it's you're just unwrapping. It's like unfolding not only the menu but the dish which is right there. So how do you see that industry growing?
As far as trends is concerned, the next 5 or 10 years, and as far as the industry that I kind of represent comes from, there are 4 or 5 things which will be at the forefront. So first will be, and I call it talent management.
Right.
We have to invest in our talent as if they are our own.
Right.
We cannot be talking about welcome to the family when we don't treat them like family. If somebody
like
is
that.
unwell, you just don't send them a get well soon card, but you just make sure that you go and see them.
Sure.
You make sure that they have got enough nutritious meals to kind of help them in that recovery. So you need to take care of your talent as you would take care of your family.
Right.
So that talent management is huge and will be at the forefront of any big change as such.
Right.
Second is most of our restaurants will get smaller,
Okay.
25 seaters, 50 seaters. Gone are the days when the restaurants would be 100, 120, 150, 200 seaters because
Why do you say that?
because we want to ensure that we cater to a very, very small niche group of people who come in today and dine with me in this particular restaurant. I mean, imagine if
And you
you're
want to see them back again.
Exactly.
They should step out smiling. They should step in smiling.
Exactly. I mean, for me, in a hotel, for example, if I were to ask you, would you rather have, say, for example, a choice of 2 or 3 smaller restaurants or one big all-day dining restaurant? What would you prefer?
Right.
So, smaller restaurants are more personalized.
Yeah.
The chefs there, the service associates are very, very clued on in terms of getting you the attention, the right dishes in the right time. That really, really helps. Plus, from a business point of view, from a real estate point of view, rentals, ensuring
Absolutely.
that you maintain a business at a healthy, sustainable point of view. Smaller restaurants make so much of business
Yeah, but
sense
I
as
rather
well.
prefer a very personalized experience, honestly,
Absolutely,
because it's just not only food that you're going for, but you're also going for a personal experience. So you want
absolutely.
to have that interaction, you want to know what's there in the menu, what are the ingredients, and maybe you want to talk more and more about it.
Yes,
That's how the food is to me now.
yes.
Yeah,
I mean, imagine, if you're celebrating your birthday, a group of 16 or 20 people
correct.
together in a restaurant, that would make sense. Last and one of the most important things would be ingredients.
Okay,
Ingredients will become dear. We've already seen what is happening with chocolate in terms of price rise, availability, etc.,
right,
etc.
right.
So the ingredients will become very, very dear. Take care of those ingredients. We as chefs need to take care of those
I'm glad you talked
ingredients.
about it. Yeah,
Yeah, and the farmers who are growing it should take care of those ingredients as well. So it's going to be talent,
two-way.
smaller
Yeah.
restaurants, and ingredients, which is going to be at the forefront of the next 5 or 10 years.
Interesting, that's true. So, with this changing business models and revenue streams, I want to know that there are types of kitchen that I'm hearing these days. What is this ghost kitchen? I've just recently heard about it. And then the meal kitchens, and then subscription services. What is it that your platform, social media platform, and these ghost kitchens and subscriptions, they work together, and how well do they work?
So ghost kitchens are not exactly restaurants. Ghost kitchens, like ghosts, they're not really there, but they're there.
Okay.
Okay, so the restaurants or the kitchens are not really there, but they are there. So, for example, you will have, say, for example, on a particular subscribing platform, you will have names of various kitchens.
Wonderful. So, with this revenue stream and your foreign investments, which are pouring in now in India, and again, I would say it has become a trend. How do you think this is sustainable, and how far is this sustainable, both the collaborations together?
Well, see, for
You
any
think foreign investment is pretty good to have massive restaurants, and how restaurants are every day opening and shutting down, and people are just making to, wanting to make money and be there because they feel that food is a business which is never going to die, which is true. We all know that. How do you take that perspective?
Again, it all starts from a business plan,
Yeah.
a robust and a solid business plan, which is funded by someone who has deep pockets will always work.
Yeah.
So, for example, you can have Dravid, which is preparing South Indian food. You can have Lahore, which could be preparing Northwest Frontier food. You could be having a kitchen called Punjab, which would be preparing Punjabi food. But then all of this food will come from one kitchen called something else.
Okay.
Totally. And in that kitchen, you will have various sections which will then feed on to these various online restaurants which are visible to you as individual restaurants.
Does it help?
It
It's
helps in
helpful.
their particular business model. For me personally, I just feel that the margins are really, really slim with the amount of heavy discounting that we look at, with the platform fees, with the subscription charges, with the handling fees. I just feel that the margins are really, really slim. But then it's something that we have to be aware of,
Right.
because a lot of us obviously do order takeaways and takeouts on a
Right.
regular basis.
Right. Right.
But what happens most of the times is, just because the money is easy to get,
Yeah.
and we are driven by our preconceived notions that, what, in Delhi chole bhature works well everywhere. It might not be the case. I mean, try opening a chole bhature place in, say, for example, a Chittaranjan Park. It just wouldn't work.
Right.
So we have these preconceived notions that if I can do this well, or if I can make this well, and if I have a foreign partner who can kind of assist me with the enormous amount of fundings that I have access to, anything and everything will
So it
work.
doesn't scale quickly. It's just a myth.
Absolutely.
It's just about you, how you present yourself. It's about your flavors. Of course, foreign investment can only help you to an extent where you can be pan India.
Yes.
But eventually, it has to be the person who has to scale it up.
And all has to be backed up by a great business plan. Everything should be kind of written down, researched really, really well, based purely upon market analysis.
So that's what your training program management does also.
Yes.
Wow.
In our final stage, we do teach our associates business plans, budgeting, marketing calendars, all of that, because that's a very, very inherent part of any chef's life.
Now that we've spoken about so many things, innovation, menu, social media platform, how you bring in all the ingredients together, the customer satisfaction, people coming back to you time and again. There's something new which I want to speak about. Maybe, how does your average day look like? People would definitely want to know that. How is it when you prepare so many things and you're in a training program? I'm sure it must be a very hectic schedule for you.
Sure.
But then share a few things with them.
Sure. Well, for me personally, nothing is hectic if it's kind of from here. If it's from the heart, you just enjoy doing it, and you don't. Sometimes I don't kind of even have time to look at my watch, which I don't wear any which ways, and understand well where's the day gone. So I usually start my day at around 7:30. Have a quick breakfast at OCLD itself. I just want to taste the food that is being prepared in the associate dining room, because it gives me the flavor as to what my associates will be eating throughout the day. It just gives me a sense of that quality. I do take care of my flavor garden myself, so I ensure that I kind of harvest a few tomatoes, look at a lemon balm growing in, check on how the guava tree is growing, etc., etc., water it all up. And then by 7:30, 7:45, I'm at my desk, go through the news headlines, newspaper. It's very, very important to understand why and what is going around in our lives and in the world. And then I usually clear all my inbox by around 8:30, 8:45. 8:45 is when we have that briefing, which is preceded by a little bit of music.
Right.
And then from 9 to 6, it's sessions, immersions, workshops. Sometimes they are classroom based, sometimes they are kitchen based,
Right.
sometimes they are through and through practical, sometimes they are practical and kitchens.
Yeah.
And then I usually end my day by around 6:30. And I do not like to see 100 emails in my
Okay.
inbox before I kind of retire for the day. So I finish
That's
all of
fine.
that. Yeah, I finish all of that, and I finish by around 7:30, 7:45. I stay very, very close to civil lines, so that I'm back home by 8:30. Catch something on either social media, television, read a book, cook a small meal for myself.
Keep yourself updated with the new trends. maybe.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then by 10 o'clock, I'm kind of, out and done for the day.
Wonderful. Now that I hear about your menu innovation, I've also heard about, how you put things beautifully together. Just as you said that you don't know time management. I think that's enough to manage a day. That's the reason we asked you, how your day looks like.
Sure.
My second thing would be, which is again intriguing, that what's your new project that you're working on, or from Obroi's perspective, what's the new baby which is coming up, if there's any?
So we as an organization have just opened a resort called Vindivilas, and this is in Bandhavgarh, in the middle of nowhere. Very, very understated luxury, but luxurious nevertheless. It is an expansive piece of land which has got the highest tiger seeing ratings, if I can use that index, in the world, because of the sheer number of tigers that are there in and around that forest reserve. It has got a 2,000-year-old temple wherein the artis have never stopped ever since. It has got caves done by prehistoric humans, which has got a script which has not been deciphered yet. So, I mean, it's in the middle of nowhere, but extreme luxury wherein the personalization is to the next level. We have a guide. In fact, I was speaking with a naturalist called Ratna Singh, who had trained the associates there in how to be in sync with nature and yet make sure that the guests enjoy the luxury in a sustainable manner. And we organized a virtual session with her for all our associates, which was great. And then she was telling us the comparison between these big game reserves in Africa and our resorts in Rajasthan and now in Bandhavgarh as well. So for us in Oberoi's, sustainability comes first, and then working with the community, luxury, they all kind of add up to that experience. Whereas in say for example Africa, it is always about tourism. How can we get in big numbers? How can we get in people with high net worth individuals flying in their own private jets and spend kind of a week with us? But for us, it is all about that small, unique touch points. It's all about that super personalization. So, for example, if we have a guest who loves to have, say, for example, yogurt with certain nuts as his or her breakfast,
Right.
we would go out of our way to ensure that we get that Greek style yogurt, kind of specially prepared by our chefs, and pair it, say, for example, with mahua seeds, which are very, very inherent and local to that particular region and that particular area. So it's about being in tandem with the community, putting a sustainable foot forward, and ensuring that super personalized luxury is at your doorstep. Let me give you a very, very intriguing example as such. So, Selena Gomez, everybody knows her. She's trending. She is on television. She's everywhere. During one of her TV shows, she mentioned that she has this particular snow cone, and snow cone is nothing but our chuski and our gola.
Pickles with chopped pickles and ice. Oh, pickle juice.
So this is just pickles.
So what she does is, whenever she wants to kind of meet up with her friends or sit in front of her television or watch a favorite movie, she takes in this huge tub of popcorn. She has this bottle of Tabasco, a great amount of this brine, and shaved ice, or snow cone as she calls it, SNO cone. And she takes a popcorn, dips in that brine, spikes it up with a little bit of Tabasco if it's required, and has it along with that snow cone, which is again got this brine liquid sprinkled all over it. So, talk about innovation, trend that makes things go viral in this particular concept by none other than Selena Gomez herself.
So this is called the real culinary adventure, I would say. And why we are discussing this today, because a layman, whoever hears us today, we've had very good perspective from you. It's been an insightful podcast, and I'm sure all those people who are watching us right now would want to watch this again, because when I go back, I would definitely take a closer look of what I missed and what I learned from you. And there are people who would definitely want to know more from your side. Thank you so much for being there with us. Thank you so much for putting out all the points so fabulously.
Thank you.
And bringing in the beautiful kitchen to all those people who really want to know what goes in the kitchen and behind the scenes when it comes on the table.
Great.
Thanks for being there with us. Thank you. Now that we have ended the podcast, and I request my viewers to subscribe to my channel and like it. Also, please leave a comment which is the next guest that you would want to see me with on the podcast, and what is that particular topic जो आप भी चाहेंगे जिसके बारे में हम आज बात करें. जो आज आपने संदीप पांडे का शो देखा है, उसमें आई एम श्योर जो नेक्स्ट जनरेशन ऑफ शेफ हैं वो ज़रूर इंस्पायर होंगे और इस पॉडकास्ट से उनको कुछ ज़रूर सीखने को मिलेगा. साथ में आपको ये भी पता लगेगा कि इंडिया में जो हमने एक फ्यूजन, हमने अपने culinary स्किल्स में एक फ्यूजन क्रिएट करा है, और जो ओबरॉय जैसे होटल्स में लोग बार बार वापस जाते हैं, उसका क्या कारण है, उसके पीछे संदीप पांडे जैसे लोग हैं.